Today, I'm testing recipes for easy skillet meals. If you are new to my channel, hi, my name is Anna. I love trying vintage recipes from my vintage cookbook collection. This book, Easy Skillet Meals, is from Better Homes and Gardens, and it was published in 1972. Typically, when I make a recipe on this channel, it's the first time I've ever tried it, so if that sounds like something that you would be into, I hope you stick around. So this book is really kind of geared toward an electric skillet right here, but you can easily adapt it to the stovetop. And skillet meals are especially nice when the weather warms up. I didn't plan this, but today is going to be the warmest day that we've had here in Northeast Ohio in a while. So how appropriate that I am trying these recipes out today. The first recipe I decided to try, it's these Italian skillet meatloaves. And there are several things that drew me to this recipe immediately. The first reason, a skillet meatloaf. Intriguing. Usually meatloaf is something I think of that you have to bake in an oven. So I've never tried a stovetop version before. Secondly, this is already scaled down for 2 people. It only makes 2 servings, which is perfect for me. I'm usually cutting recipes in half or, trying to look for recipes that make a small amount because I live in a small household. So that was really good. The third thing is that there's cheese inside. That can't be bad, right? You actually mix up the meatloaf mixture and then you form it around a cheese stick before you cook it on the stovetop. All right, I'm ready for this. Combine egg, breadcrumbs, milk. We'll start there. There's a few other things. I have my egg here. I need to lightly beat that too. Three-quarters of a cup of soft breadcrumbs. I actually took the heel ends of my loaf of bread and then I've just processed them in my little food chopper. I've got about 1/3 of a cup of milk here. Instant minced onion. So I have 2 teaspoons of instant minced onion here. That's gonna rehydrate from the milk and the egg. Teaspoon of parsley flakes. And I have 1/2 teaspoon of garlic salt. And it says a dash of pepper. I forgot to grab my pepper mill, so 1 second. Okay, I think we have a pretty good start here. It smells very nice. The garlic salt and the dried minced onion, they do help, of course. Mix that all together. Making a panade here. When you soak bread with milk, that's a very common ingredient or a very common step that you would take when making meatloaf, sometimes meatballs too. So that's what we have so far. I need to grab my ground beef. 1/2 pound of lean ground beef here. This is actually extra lean ground beef because that is what was on sale at my store. It's the least expensive ground beef. Surprisingly, usually it's more. Okay, so this has just been sitting while I was kind of getting my other stuff around, and I need to add my ground beef to this. Spatula is not my favorite way to mix meatloaf. If you know me, if you've been here for a minute, you know it's my hands. So I'm gonna wash my hands, we're gonna use them. Clean hands are such great tools. I know not everyone loves to mix meatloaf with their hands. There are a lot of other suggestions out there. Someone told me if you have a hand mixer and you have dough hooks on that hand mixer, that works really well for this. Being a little gentle. I think I'm gonna give this mixture a few minutes in the fridge before I shape it because it's super loose right now. I think I want more of the liquid to sort of absorb. I need to divide this mixture in half. When I do that, a lot of times I like to sort of pat it and then sort of mark it down the middle. Unless you have to weigh something. I'm not weighing this, are you kidding me? My 2 little portions here, and I'm supposed to form each one around a cheese stick. Now I was going to purchase, just to save myself a little time, the cheese sticks that are individually wrapped. They were almost double the price of a block of cheese. This is cheddar jack cheese. I just cut a block to approximately the right size. I don't know, I'm trying to save a buck here, folks. Do what works for you though, of course. But we're gonna try this. Will it be successful? I don't know. Not so bad, not so bad. The cheese sticks needed to be 3.5 by 3/4 of an inch. So I did actually get a ruler out and try to measure that a bit. I don't know if I would have done this exactly this way, but that's why I'm testing this recipe so I can see what works and what doesn't. I'm trying to get them to be a little more elongated. Like a little meat football. I do have a sneaking suspicion that the cheese may ooze out. I do think this is gonna taste good, and that's really what matters here. Okay, I'm gonna make sort of a long patty. It's just that the mixture I think if I were dealing with just like regular beef that didn't have any additional like liquid or anything, it would be easier because that would make for like a very firm mixture, you know, just the beef and maybe some seasonings. That's not how you make a meatloaf. Because this is so soft and kind of wet, that's what's happening. Just get in there. Or I would maybe rethink the size of the cheese sticks a little. Photogenic meatloaf. Maybe. That remains to be seen. Got my 2 loaves, so I need to move over to the stovetop and cook them. I'm heating a tablespoon of oil in a skillet here. I'm supposed to brown my meatloaves. So we're gonna do that. I'm just shaking it off. And I have to brown them. And it says I should brown them on all sides. So let's just give that a few minutes. Don't mind the snacks over here. We had people over, I haven't put them away yet. So now you know what kind of snacks we eat. As you can see, I have flipped these over. I was gonna try to flip them on camera. I really couldn't do it very easily. I had to move the camera just to like make sure I could do this effectively and so that they didn't completely fall apart. Remember, you're not cooking them all the way through. At this point, you're just getting some color on them because you're going to end up simmering these as well. I'm kind of like pressing the sides a little bit up against the side of the skillet so that that browns as well. I can see the cheese sneaking out here, so I'm gonna move on. I need to lower the heat on these. It says to drain the drippings. There's like not that much here. It's mostly just the oil that I added. There's not a lot coming off of these. I have to add 8 ounces of pizza sauce. This is actually pasta sauce. So I'm gonna mix that around a little bit. I think when I serve them to myself right now, I think I might end up spooning some of that liquid, that sauce over the top. I'm gonna like sneak them together a little bit. This is working out a lot better than I expected so far. Anyway, we'll see how it goes the rest of the way. So now I need to cover these and let them simmer for 15 minutes. Clearly you can see that we had a bit of a cheese situation. We had a little cheese leaking out of the meatloaf, but it's okay. I am very excited to cut into this. I'm actually gonna cut right down the middle because I kind of wanna see. I did take the temperature of these meatloaves before I plated them, plated one, I guess, just to make sure it was safe to eat. It smelled so good cooking. And like I said, I think this worked like better than I expected, but we'll find out. We're gonna taste it. Oh yeah, we got some nice cheese running out of this one. Actually, I wanna make sure I get some of the cheese, so I'm gonna go over here. That's a great flavor. Yeah. And I didn't have to bake this for a super long time in the oven or anything. It was all in the stovetop. It does kind of taste like a pizza burger or like meatball or something. You're supposed to serve this with some hot cooked spaghetti. I didn't feel like cooking any spaghetti, but it would go very well with some pasta. This is very good. I would say that recipe was pretty successful. To remedy the cheese leakage, I'd probably just use a shorter piece of cheese. It was kind of difficult to form the mixture around the cheese sticks at that length, but taste-wise, this is pretty darn good. Next, I want to try out this Spanish potato omelet. And my thought here is that this could be something that you can make as dinner. Of course, like whatever, you can eat eggs any time of day, but it might be something that you can make ahead of time to reheat for breakfast. So maybe sort of like a little bit of a breakfast prep. That's what I plan to do, is taste it on camera and then really reheat it for breakfast as long as it turns out well. The other thing I really want to try, instead of using like a raw potato, I want to try using canned potatoes. Now I've heard of people using canned potatoes for things like hash browns. You know, canned potatoes are fully cooked, but as I was preparing these, like I had to dice them smaller. They are still kind of firm, although they are cooked. So it's kind of like a nice in between. So we're gonna try these canned potatoes instead of raw potato, just to kind of see how it works out. I'm heating 1.5 tablespoons of olive oil in a small skillet because I'm cutting the recipe in half. And I have to start by cooking my potatoes and onions. I am gonna go with the onions first. So this is a 1/4 cup of finely diced onion. The onions are raw, so I do want to give them a bit of a head start. So I'm going to let this cook for just a few minutes. These have been sizzling away for just a couple of minutes, and I'm going to add 1.5 cups of diced potatoes. And these are the canned potatoes I mentioned. A few minutes later, and you can see the potatoes are starting to get nice and browned. And if you're wondering, like, why are you using cooked potatoes? Why didn't you use a raw potato? I find that I'm very picky about how well a potato is cooked. And often when you start from a raw potato, or at least for me, if you start from a raw potato and you try to fry it, it just like doesn't cook all the way through or cook evenly like the individual pieces. And I have heard, and I believe that some diners and places that serve potatoes at breakfast, they make hash browns from cooked potatoes, like boiled potatoes or whatever. So that's why I wanted to try the canned potatoes. This is not outlined in the ingredients, but you are supposed to season this. It just says season with salt. I'm telling you what, this is not exactly what I expected in terms of how this whole thing is assembled. You know, I probably just would have stood right over at the stove and poured the egg mixture over that potato mixture, but no, it says I had to remove it from the heat and then mix my eggs and then mix this into the eggs. We'll see. Maybe there's a good reason. Yeah, so I'm gonna mix my eggs. I've got 3 eggs here, cutting the recipe in half, just a reminder. You'd use 6 eggs if you were doing the full recipe. And just over a tablespoon of milk. And yes, maybe you spotted my new gadget. Yes, I got a rotary beater. Do I need a rotary beater? I probably don't, but I got it from Butler Pantry in Saugatuck, Michigan, one of my favorite places, and I had my eye on it the last couple of visits. Like, I've been thinking about this thing for months. It's $20. I'm gonna get it. Here's the special thing about it. You can actually remove these beaters. So there's a little button here, and you can take these out. You can wash the whole thing like really easily. It is OXO, so I do really enjoy OXO products. If I can find it, I will link it in the description down below. I'm having a lot of fun with it though. You know, was it absolutely necessary? Probably not, but I am getting a lot of enjoyment out of it. Get those like shaken off. Okay, I'm gonna take the beaters out. So that whole thing comes off, and then you can take them out of here too. And then wash them. Put it in the dishwasher, do whatever you want. Oh no, there's more salt in this too. I don't know why they didn't put the salt in the ingredients. I understand, you know, the salt to taste situation, but just say that there's salt in it so I get myself ready. Now I gotta put this back together. It's not a big deal. Mix that in. I need to add the potatoes to this. Stir in the potato mixture. I had to read that a few times. I was getting a little confused. This did cool for a few minutes, but some of the eggs might cook. I don't know. Well, now we have to go back over to the stovetop, finish cooking this. Very same skillet that I was using before, and I'm heating 1 more tablespoon of olive oil in there. Oh, also I added a dash pepper to the eggs. It said to do that. It just didn't say it in the ingredients list. I'm gonna pour my egg mixture in here. Spread those potatoes out a little bit. Reduce the heat and cover it. Do I have a lid that actually fits the skillet? I don't, so we're gonna improvise. This is the best I can do right now. And I need to let this cook for about 10 minutes. Okay, 10 minutes later, and this is mostly set. You can see on the top that there's some uncooked egg. And it says that I'm supposed to slip this onto a platter to flip it. Do I have faith that I can just like flip it myself? Let me loosen it, make sure it's like loosened enough. Just like around the edges here. It's pretty, there's like a good amount of olive oil in there, so it's pretty slippy. I may have to do this off camera just because like the camera's sort of in the middle here. Okay, yeah, see, it's doing some stuff. I did manage it. I actually needed to get kind of a smaller flipper than this one, spatula. Just to get in there and make it easier, and I did employ the use of a plate. So now I need to let this cook for an additional 2 to 3 minutes. Got my little tiny wedge here. I cut this into 6 wedges, but yeah, like I cut the recipe in half. So really this much is like 2 servings. Remember, I only used 3 eggs, but I just want to taste it. And then I'm gonna put the rest away and have it for breakfast, probably tomorrow morning. I also added some chives because my chive plant is actually producing chives. Let's cut into this. Very simple. I might add a little bit more seasoning to it. I don't know, I kind of like the way it is though. It's got a very simple flavor. I think the chives actually do add a little bit more to it. I like the texture of those canned potatoes. Like I said, I've been to like restaurants and stuff and they just don't get the potatoes cooked all the way through. And I'm so disappointed when I bite into a potato and it's like raw in the middle. These are pre-cooked, but still firm. They get nice and brown in the pan. So that's something I'm gonna file away. It didn't take very many ingredients at all. You know, eggs, potatoes, onions, and oil. And sometimes that's all you got on hand, but you can use it to make something really delicious. For my final recipe, I want to make something called Sassy Zucchini. You know, you don't look at a recipe for Sassy Zucchini and pass it up. You gotta try it. And I have everything I need for this recipe except for the zucchini. My Meyer just didn't have any when I was shopping, you know, and that just won't do. But it gives me a great excuse to bring you out on a field trip, which is why I'm filming in my car. Not something I do very often. But I wanted to bring you to one of the local farm markets, seasonal farm markets. We have a few of these around. And also just, you know, I love looking around here and shopping here when I can. So yeah, I'm gonna pick up a zucchini, but if I find something else that I like, I'll probably get that too. I got the goods. I got out of there just in time. It's starting to rain and there's like part of this is covered, but part of it is outdoors. So I'm wanting to head home anyway. So I'll share my little haul with you. It's pretty small. First I got a strawberry rhubarb fry pie because I love strawberry and rhubarb. Sorry. I'm trying to do this like one-handed. I got my zucchini for the Sassy Zucchini. And then I got 3 little peaches. It's not peach season here in Ohio yet. I believe these were from, actually I can see it from here. They're from South Carolina. So eventually into July, we'll have Ohio peaches. But anyway, I'm gonna head home, get started on this recipe. Cutting the recipe in half once again. So in my skillet, I have 1/2 pound of lean ground beef, and then I need to add 1/2 cup of chopped onions. And I need to cook this all together until the meat is browned and the onions are soft. Okay, you can see my meat is browned. My onion is starting to get tender. So now I need to add 3 ounces of water, 8 ounces of diced tomatoes in juice. You're supposed to add these undrained. And then my spaghetti sauce mix, which I've never used this before. I'm really glad they put in the recipe the size of the package because this is what I got and it's 1.5 ounces. And the full recipe, you just need 1 ounce. So I did save the rest of this and just like measured out what I needed. 1/2 teaspoon of salt going on in. So I need to mix this together and let it come to a simmer. I accidentally said a simmer. I meant to say boiling. So it is boiling. And now I have half a cup of minute rice, or as they say in the recipe, uncooked packaged pre-cooked rice, which is just a really funny way to say it, I think. I just did a video on minute rice not too long ago, so I'll link that in the description down below. And now comes the star of the show, and that is the Sassy Zucchini. That one zucchini I got actually gave me just about the perfect amount for half a recipe. So this is like 12 ounces of zucchini. I used my mandolin slicer to cut this into almost 1/4 inch pieces, like long 1/4 inch pieces. Part of me is thinking that's not enough liquid, but then I remembered zucchini has a lot of liquid in it. So I need to cover this and reduce the heat and let it simmer for about 15 to 20 minutes until the zucchini is tender. I ended up letting this cook for the entire 20 minutes. It did need it. The rice still wasn't quite done when I checked it at 15 minutes. And you know, the zucchini, it softens up really nicely. If I didn't mention it, I cut these just under 1/4 inch thick. And they're what, like, I don't know, a few inches long and about 3/4 to 1 inch wide. I'm just gonna dig in. I'm curious. I don't know really how necessary it is to cut them, you know, the zucchini into these ribbons. You could, I think zoodles, if you wanted to do like zucchini noodles, that might be a little bit delicate. I don't know, we'll see. I'm trying to get like a small piece. I'm cutting up the zucchini anyway, so like. The combination of vegetables is really nice. The zucchini and the tomato go really well together with the onion. I added a few chives on top. I think I could use a little garlic. It's not super seasoned, and I don't know if the spaghetti sauce like seasoning packets that they had back then were like a little different, because that's where most of your seasoning is really coming from. I think this could use some cheese, some Parmesan cheese. I actually grabbed some in anticipation because cheese like really does help a lot of situations, doesn't it? Yeah. That does help a lot. I really do like the fresh vegetable taste of this, because you can really taste the zucchini and the tomatoes together. I think it goes really well with just a little sprinkling of Parmesan cheese. I don't know that I would cut the zucchini into this shape again. I might just do like very thin slices, not go to the trouble of like making it exactly like this, because I end up cutting the zucchini into smaller pieces to eat anyway. But this could be a good thing to have in your back pocket if you have a lot of zucchini in your garden or people are giving it to you. I actually made an entire video just about zucchini a couple years ago, so I'll make sure to link that, of course. But yeah, as we head into summer, this could be a great way to use up some of your produce that's coming in. Better Homes and Gardens Easy Skillet Meals was published in 1972, and it was kind of geared toward electric skillets. You can see on the front that is an electric skillet. They also have one on the back here. But these recipes are also easily adapted to the stovetop. They do have a section very early in the book that's like, know your skillets. So you can use different types of skillets for any of these recipes. My favorite skillet is right here. And as you can see, if you can spot that and you are a Corningware fan, you can tell that is a Corningware casserole dish with a heating element underneath. I have the pattern written down so I wouldn't forget it. It is Floral Bouquet. I do have one small 1-quart casserole dish in this pattern, and I just love it. And you can see they have cast iron, they have enamel, non-stick, stainless steel, like they have everything here. Although I don't have an electric skillet, my mom sure did, and that thing got a lot of use. So much spaghetti sauce, so much hamburger helper, so many grilled cheese sandwiches came out of that thing. And I think there was just a convenience to it that if you don't have a ton of space, or maybe your stovetop is taken up by something else, you know, other dishes, you can plug an electric skillet in and use it pretty much anywhere because the heating element is built in. I even remember, I think my aunt had one that she would take on camping trips. They had one of those little pop-up campers. Do they still make those? You remember you had to like crank it and pop up. It was a small camper. They would have that. We would also bring a tent for the kids, and she had like a little kitchen tent set up, and I think she had an electric skillet in there. We didn't do like super primitive camping, so there was like electricity and everything at the sites. But that's kind of another idea. If you have like a 2-burner camp stove and you have a lot of people to feed, an electric skillet might make sense in a situation like that. We got to look at this cookbook. It's a classic Better Homes and Gardens style skinny cookbook. I mean, I immediately, when I see the back of a book and it looks like this with the sort of square and rectangular collage of photos, I know it's Better Homes and Gardens. I mean, look at how many of these skinny cookbooks. This is all BH&G back here. I usually know them when I see them. Even though it's a very slim book, it's chock full. These are always surprising to me, these little skinny Better Homes and Gardens books, because they do contain so many recipes. You know, yeah, you've got your meats, but there's eggs and fish, and there's even hot sandwiches and a camping chapter, a dessert chapter. So there's really a little bit of everything in here. They have a chapter on recipes for entertaining. So if you want to make something a little fancy, if you're having guests over, they have you covered in this book. An Italian omelet for brunch. I think maybe that's frittata. It's frittata Milanese. That's what the name of the recipe is. But the description just says Italian omelet for brunch. There's a nice stir fry there if you have a wok or an electric wok. I do remember those being very popular when I was a kid. We didn't have one, but I do remember seeing them in other people's homes. Oh, here's a neat one from the camping chapter. You've got campfire spaghetti, basically. Mexican skillet spaghetti. Oh, okay. Oh, so it's got like taco seasoning in it. That's actually kind of interesting. I might give that one a try. Maybe not over a campfire or on a camp stove, but at home. I think one of the advantages of a skillet, like a stovetop or a skillet meal, at least at this time of year when the weather is starting to get warm, is that you're not heating up your entire house or your entire kitchen by turning on the oven. I've been filming this video over 2 days, the 2 hottest days that we've had all year so far. I don't know how that happened, but it was kind of perfect timing for me. The first recipe I tried was Italian skillet meatloaves. There was a lot to like about this recipe. The first being, it was for 2 people. I always love a recipe for 2. I understand that there are people out there who either have larger households, they have to cook for more people, or they don't want to cook more than once or twice a week. I cook a lot of recipes all the time, all week, no matter what. If they come to me already scaled down, I love it. Like that's kind of like a checked box in their favor. But this one, even more so, just tasted really good. It ended up working out so much better than I even thought it would. I was kind of thinking like, a stovetop meatloaf, how is that going to work? Because meatloaf, you usually do have, like when you bake it in the oven, there's maybe sort of a crust, like a browned top that forms. But you just brown this in the skillet before you cover it and finish cooking it, and that kind of took care of that part of it. I thought these turned out to be very well seasoned. Even as I was assembling the meat mixture, I was like, wow, this smells really good, like the seasonings that you're using in it. So it had a good flavor. And of course the cheese helped. I would experiment with the cheese a little bit. I think I should use maybe like a smaller piece or a shorter piece, just to make it a little bit easier to form the meat mixture around the cheese and keep it in there. There was a little bit of leakage, but it was my first time making these. Probably not the last. I really, really enjoyed these. The second recipe I tried was a Spanish potato omelet. I thought the minimal ingredient aspect of this recipe was great. There's not a lot to it. Eggs, potatoes, some salt and pepper. I think there's maybe a little bit of milk in there. It's not a lot, and oil, of course, to cook with. So you can make something delicious without having a lot on hand. This did reheat so well. This was a great breakfast prep. I had those wedges. I put them in the microwave and I put a little hot sauce on top, and it was delicious. So this would be something that would be good to make ahead of time and reheat if you need to make, something. I say breakfast. You could take this with you anywhere you need to go, and if you have access to a microwave, you can easily warm it up. It might actually be pretty good cold too. I don't know. This dish was also very filling between the eggs and the potatoes. Again, you're not working with a lot of ingredients, not super, super expensive, but a very satisfying dish. I thought the canned potatoes worked really nicely too. The recipe states, use a potato that you've peeled and diced into small pieces. Even when it's chopped into small pieces, sometimes I find that like a fresh potato that you just saute in a pan doesn't always get quite cooked all the way through enough for me. So using these canned potatoes, which were already peeled for me, amazing. I just had to dice them up into smaller pieces. Having that sort of pre-cooked potato to use that I could just brown, it worked really nicely. Finally, Sassy Zucchini. And I had to try this recipe based on the name alone. I flipped through this book. You know, when I'm planning these videos, I kind of like look through my cookbooks a lot of times, maybe in the evenings when there's something on TV and I'm just having sort of a wind down. And I saw the Sassy Zucchini and I was like, yes, automatically yes. But I didn't think it was sassy enough. I thought it needed more seasoning. The seasoning packet that you're using, I don't think it added enough flavor. And truly, if I made this again, I think I would just omit that seasoning packet and use my own stuff. I think you would do much better to do like your own garlic and maybe some like onion powder, just like anything. Garlic, salt. It definitely needed garlic. I think this dish would benefit from some garlic, but I understand sometimes recipes in the past are a little bit less seasoned than maybe that we're used to. Over time, I've found that out. That being said, I do think this was a good dish. I think the taste generally was good. I think you just kind of need to improve it a little bit with some additional seasonings. The texture of the zucchini was really nice. I kind of like when a zucchini is almost steamed in that way or cooked in liquid. It takes on this texture that's almost like a sauteed mushroom, and I love mushrooms. I think it's like a very similar texture, and that's kind of why I like it. Another pretty simple dish if you really think about it, especially if you don't need to go out and buy like a special packet of seasonings, if you have some stuff on hand to use on your own. I would use maybe some more herbs, like, I don't know, oregano, basil, that kind of thing. Another dish that's pretty filling too, with between the beef and the rice, and it's an all-in-one meal. So you've got your meat, you've got your vegetables, you've got your rice. You don't have to make anything else really. What did you think of my recipe choices? Did you love them? Did you hate them? I'd love to hear about it, so please leave me a comment. I'd like to say a special thank you to my Patreon supporters. If you'd like to join us over there, I'll have a link in the description so that you can do that. Don't forget to look out for each other and take care of each other, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.